Thank you. Okay, so good morning, everyone. A warm welcome on the session 5 of HR Analytics. And it's really, really nice. I see a lot of traction and I see a lot of, people have started reading and started understanding whatever we have been doing. So that's really, really good. Just to revisit again, the sessions have been taken up pretty well. And, we have been focusing on the various approaches of HR analytics. So the 4 sessions really focused on the overviews, benefits, history, importance, and challenges, followed by the tools, careers, and analytics which gets involved. Our 3rd session focused on the training and development matrix, which we focused on the various top matrices, including the LMS and the LRS, and what are the innovative ways to measure the training effectiveness. And also, the last session we did on the recruitment matrix. What are the various measuring approach, the types, and the most frequent use metrics in the corporate world. Today's session will have a highlight on the workforce modeling and HR as a business partner, because it is really, really important to understand how we can come into that periphery and organization effectiveness and its impact on the workforce analytics, and what are the various ways. So the 5 important ways how we can work towards the steps towards the workforce analysis. So today's session is going to be focusing on this aspect. All right, so I'm just sharing this book which has been published by me, and what I'm doing is why the reason of sharing it, because in the next session we will be doing a lot into the statistical front, and if you wish to pick up this book you can actually buy. I have sent you the link of Amazon. This is a real fundamental about how we can use the descriptive analysis in our analytics front, and from there how we can use on the predictive and further prescriptive. So it will give you a lot of very basic insight, because I have what the objective of this book was to really give an insight to the people which tool to use when, because a lot of times I have seen people are not aware of it. So this is going to give you a benefit, right? So let's start with the workforce modeling. Okay, so let me first understand from you all, what is it that comes in your mind when I talk about workforce modeling? Maybe you can just unmute yourself and share about it. Anyone, what comes in your mind, and why do you feel this stuff is important for all of us? Anyone? You can use your chat box also, so just feel comfortable. And if it's a new word for you, I mean, then also you can be very candid to me and you can share with me.
Morning, Dr. Valia. How are you?
Morning, I'm good. Thank you so very much. All to you, sir.
Workforce modeling. It is important because you actually have to strategize in terms of how do you want to define budgeting plus the candidature of a profile that you're looking forward for. Because so any program or maybe any designation that you would want to hire a candidate, or so there are one, because of pandemic, and then if not pandemic and we look at before and after pandemic, there'd been way too difference in terms of doing workforce hiring with different budgets, because when you look at availability post pandemic, supply is huge versus demand when you compare it before pandemic. So workforce modeling is generally into doing strategizing basis the available workforce that you have, plus the kind of workforce that you wish to hire, within the budgets and given candidature by clients and management. I think I'll put it this way.
All right. I must appreciate the context you gave it very nicely. I like that budgeting element, in this. So indeed, it's written there on the screen, understand how an organization human capital needs would change as a function of some expected change in the organization environment happens. So this change may be a shift in the demand for organization product, entry into a new market, or maybe acquisition, mergers. You will see the things happening. So you will see a great example that in the current work from home pandemic, new normal is taking shapes, how things have changed absolutely differently, right? So you will find such things have come up that people go into certain set of habitual approach, and then bringing them back to the existing normal becomes very, very challenging. So sometimes you have to make the things betterment for the people. And that's how what we do is we end up connecting the business strategy to the people reporting. Now, workforce analytics software, I would put it in this manner, falls under the very broad umbrella of people analytics, which refers to all aspect of acquiring and managing employees, right? So the idea behind the workforce analytics, which has shifted greatly as a result of technological innovation, so that offers employee data. So in modern workforce analytics, we dig deeper, more influence and presence itself more visually. So the visual impact becomes very, very evident in this. It requires application, it helps enterprises, the leaders to develop and improve the, you can say, a recruiting model, hiring decisions, keeping the best workers with the companies, and you will see how Paytm or else Amazon, they started using such workforce analytics for their set of organization. So it helps managers to predict the probability of an individual employee's success. It identify the need for new department and position. It also determines which department or positions can be reassigned or can be eliminated. Identify and quantify the risk to the employees in a specific positions, right? And you will see that I'll give you with an example. I think that will be great for you to understand. In 2016-17, I remember a life science research organization, they used the workforce analytics tool just to examine the headcount, the diversity, and the employee performance as a way to augment the company's organization setup. So meanwhile, the life science research organization, right, which is a hospital using a workforce analytics product, was able to discover that open job requisition had doubled to 500 over a 2-year period. And as a result, the time to fill, right, which is available, the position has increased. So it gets armed with the data. The hospitals hired the more recruitment staff. It dealt with the requisition search. So you will see these kind of things actually comes up very, very important for all the people. So you will see how the connect happens, from the business strategy, that what exactly the goal of an organization leads to the two chunk of workforce requirement versus employee with the employee requirement, So the focus of strategy for the people, and then what are they expected to do, that leads and work towards the strategy and the priorities, further drilling down to the critical measures that we can do so that we can achieve our strategy. And at the end of the day, with the help of reporting, we reach out to the business results, that how we have improved. So that's how the connect happens. Now, here some very important aspect is HR as a business partner. Now, what happens is, if you will see in this slide, there are two elements of HR ROI scale, return on investment scale, right? And then there is a future strategic focus versus day-to-day operation focus, followed by on the x-axis process versus people. Now, I'm going to put an insight here. So there is an experienced human resource professional who works directly within organization senior leadership. So to develop and direct an HR agenda that closely supports organization goal as a business partner. So your role becomes very important if you come as a BP, right? So the goal of strategic partner of a business is to make HR contribute to business strategy. Now, this includes the design of HR strategies, which can actually align with the business, contributing to the organization values, mission, vision, objectives, and it has a seat at the respective table so that you can participate in strategic planning. Now, effective HR would have the three important roles. It will work as a center of excellence with a specific HR expertise. This could be like global mobility, performance management, compensation benefits, and more. Then there is a shared service center, which is the customer facing, the part of HR, the business facing embedded HR, which includes business partner role. Okay. And then that is how the model of HBP comes. Now, if you will see, when we talk about how it started from personal management and how the role of HRM actually got evolved to an SHRM and then finally potential added value, So you will see from how organization, internal consultant to the organization designers, you will see the entire things have changed over a period of time. Now let me understand from you, all right? What is your role in your organization? If you see on my screen on the right hand side, are you acting as a administrative expert, which is like working on the operational focus with the respective processes? Or are you acting as a strategic partner, that is you're focusing on the future and the processes? Or you're acting as an employee champion, which is like again an day-to-day operation and focusing with the people? Or the most important, are you acting as a change agent, that is strategizing it for the future with the focus towards the people? So let me understand from you on, what is your role currently? Who would like to unmute and share? Anyone? Yes. What is your role currently in your organization? Are you employee champion? Are you administrative expert? Are you a change agent, or are you a strategic partner? Actually, it's a thought-provoking stuff. I sense that people have started thinking, what role are they in? Yes, anyone? You can use your chat box also, please. I'm okay with that. But I really would like to know at what role are you at currently?
Hi, ma'am. This is Sakshi.
Yes, Sakshi.
My voice is not that good today, but I'll try to explain.
Please.
So I think my role is more related to employee champion, wherein I'm working directly with the employees on their wellness part. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So as I was saying that my role is more into the employee champion side, wherein I connect directly with the employees on the basis of their wellness while engaging them with the different, strategies that has already been developed and also contributing to the new strategies into the wellness part of the employees, that how they can be benefited, what could be, the aspects we need to look in terms of their well-being, in terms of their adjustment to the organization. If some suppose new joiners are coming in, so how we are going to train them, and how we are going to expose them to the organization's what do I say, the culture, the values, everything of the organization. So I would say I lie between the people side, and change agent and employee champion would be the thing I'm working on as of now. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you are, hovering between the two segment. One is employee champion and the change agent. Both
Yes, I would
things
say
that
that.
you wear that. That's interesting. Something very, very great. So, I must compliment you for that. At least you opened up Shakshi and you shared about it. If I have to ask you, what challenges do you face when you act, when you're wearing a change agent hat and when you're wearing an employee champion hat?
So, ma'am, challenges would be, of course, when we are connecting with the other individual, we don't know what that person is thinking, firstly. So, when we don't know, we presume certain things, right? And sometimes our strategies work, sometimes it does not work, right? So, out of 10 people, if I'm training, 9 would understand, and 1 would be the, the person which will take around 1 month more to even adapt, or maybe become a case of, absconding or something like that may happen as well.
Uh,
That is one of the challenge. Other would be, again, to because I'm working in the wellness area, having my background in psychology. So with wellness, what happens is that no, not everyone feel comfortable initially. So we need to create that environment, and being in work from home setting, it's very difficult to connect with people on certain level where they can speak about their concerns. And
mm,
even if they speak about their concerns, it's more important that are they likely to acknowledge it in front of the leadership or not. So
uh,
that's the another big question mark, because they can come and tell us, okay, this is what we are facing, but now without proof we can't do anything ahead with the operation team or
mm,
the administration, right? So they're not likely to acknowledge in front of others. Now we are in the middle that what we should do about it when you are telling me, but because of confidentiality factor, we can't tell your name, we can't tell who's facing what,
yeah.
right? So that's like a biggest challenge that we have in our profile in terms of employee champion. And when it comes to change agent, again, when we are connecting with the administration part or the operations part, or maybe the management level part. So what I see is that these people who are working more than 5-7 years in one organization, they have got a stagnant thinking now. So
Mm,
whatever the process moves, it moves in this direction only. And if there is something coming from outside as an input that, this can be done or that can be done, they're most likely to say, yeah, we'll look into it. Right.
wow.
So that fresh mindset, when we go and, we see that most likely nothing is going to happen, right?
Mm,
And we are the face again in front of the employees, which we where we have to answer to them that what are we doing about their concerns, right? So that's another challenge, I would say. I think I have tried to clearly explain my position over here. Yeah,
very nice.
so that's what I can say. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Thank you so much for giving your insight on the challenges that one goes through whenever you wear such hats. So thank you so much. So let's try and build on it, because this is what happens is so. But my, if you'll ask me personally, try to. I mean, the moment you join the HR, you move from an administrative expert to the employee champion, and then to the strategic partner, to the change agent, right? So this transition in life is very, very important. I do have that change agent hat with yourself, right? Or even if to start with as a strategic partner, it will really give you a different insight altogether. So thank you so much for that. Great. So let's now understand on the HR as a business partner. So there are many different competency models, for the HRBP. The core competencies which are required may differ between organizations and to organization. Now, not every organization has an equally mature HR function. Let me tell you that. So, you really have to access the reliable data and the analytics, because at a different level of involvement of HR in the organization has a different paraphrase altogether. So very important here is the first of all, the HR business partner should understand the business, the HR processes and activities very well, because there's something I have observed a gap during my experience, right? So both in general and in the cultural context of the region, it has to be taken care. So HRBP, is a key requirement. You will see it provides the business with an advice and to implement excellent HR services. Now that advice, the moment you come up with, how will you give an advice? You can only give an advice when you have data, you have played around with the data, you have done some kind of analysis, and you see that there is something which can, foresee. And that's how you can provide that, yes, we need this, we don't need that. I still remember, as a change agent, one of the organization, you will see in the, I'll not say in one of the organization, I should say rather that in the manufacturing setup. Let's talk about a 5 decades back, the ladies were not joining assembly line. And you will see how strategically, the analytics came in place, how people started using that, yes, why not female coming into the, assembly line or a production hub, and they can also contribute. And you will see that HR as a business partner, when they gave such kind of ideation, and when they implemented, it worked very well. And I still remember that the great organizations, I'm talking about big MNCs, they started focusing on this. Okay, let's have a woman empowerment and let's work on the diversity front, because there is a contribution on the performance element. It will benefit them, right? So, able to connect to business challenges and HR activities, there is an including outcomes. Now, I remember this another example I'm talking about is there's a factory in Indonesia, it needs to be opened up, and the business partners, they should be able to identify which people challenge, the people with challenges to be tackled, what actions that need to be taken, what kind of connects that need to be formed, what are the hardest competencies one has to master. And you can easily work with reading the dashboard and analyzing the data. So you should be able to understand the reporting analysis. You should be able to give certain set of advices based on experiences, what are the various facilities available into the production system, and what are they looking at, the attention to the key data point becomes really, really important. So the good understanding of the business and the business priorities, I would say you need to have a business acumen, business and business savvy. And this is very, very key. Move out of that HR head and think from that, the growth of the organization perspective. You need to deal with the business risk. You need to come up with an opportunity in a way that leads to a good outcome. So that includes knowing the business, including the competitive advantages, market value competition, selling points, market share, development state, understanding the marketplace, the role of technology with you all, the deep understanding of the relevant stakeholders. So this is why you will see the excellent stakeholder management, what they say. So in order to get the things done in business, you need to understand a little bit of political landscape also. Okay, you need to be aware of what others are aware of, the interest, the focus area of different or the business leaders. If there is a census on the challenges, it is much easier to come up with the HR intervention, which can support the business other than where there is no consensus. So that's how the consensus becomes very, very important. Excellent communication skills and the presentation skills is very, very important here, because to manage the stakeholder, we really need to communicate, because we need to add value initiatives. And that can only happen when you are able to, communicate and present, and so that they can pick up the right signal from you. Obviously, effective at dealing with the resistance. You should be effective in dealing all kind of resistance, let me tell you. So once the opportunities for HR interventions are identified, HR and the business should work really close noted together, so that they can implement these as a good as they can, So you're able to, I would say, operate a tactical and a strategical level. Competencies like stakeholder management, right? You're dealing with the, that is where we talk about not only communication, not only on the presentation, but playing around with the data. That plays really, really important. So that's why you will find that you as a business partner, you need to contribute to the business performance. You need to promote the business benefits. Employee engagement is the key. The people management activities with the statutory compliance becomes a really important competencies per se. Okay, so you will see that how an organization actually work on the very important aspect of center of excellence. Here we focus on the workforce planning process, the kind of data in the workforce analytics can be used. We really need to understand and plan it out, and accordingly we train the people, the HR line. When we talk about institution leaders, they are absolutely into the strategic guidance. They are really very clear what they want. Their contextual and the guidance approach on the strategy is very much clear, and they disseminate that thought very absolutely clear manner. Sometimes there is a top-down approach, sometimes there is a bottoms-up approach also. So it really depends on how the leadership gets institutionalized the stuff, right? And then process facilitation, which is the core for HRBP. They really have to work on the analytics. They have to work with their respective team members, because they have to ensure the results end of the day, and they have to get the implementation per se. What I have known that over a period of time, that in the HRBP, the people work with the deeper analytics, but we have to move from I think to I know. Okay, that's a very powerful word. Let me tell you this. I think to I know. Initially, what we used to do is we used to work with something called anecdotes. How many people have attending today's session? How many girls are there? How many boys are there? What are we doing? We're talking about the real anecdotes, based on our experience, based on our, the day-to-day stuff which is happening, and we get the flavor of it, and then we share it to the world. So that is powerful, but that is less powerful, because here we really need to do a dipstick check. So from anecdotes, we have to move towards reactive check, So not the reaction check, but the reactive, that how it can have the respective further checks. And I've seen, as I talked about the statistics, so just to give you a very small example, we have a quantitative data, we have a qualitative data, right? Now in the quantitative data, the things which are measurable, we work with it. In qualitative data, it is a variable data which is not measurable. So we have to convert the variable data into the quantification. And you will be very surprised that there are various kind of charts we prepare. I'm just giving an example. Charts are like X chart. X chart is what? Your average chart. R chart is nothing but a range chart. SD chart is nothing but a standard deviation chart. Now, sometimes when the sample is known, we should know what chart to use. When we don't know how much sample is used, then there's a respective chart we should use. Why I'm focusing on this is the recheck, because so many times I've seen people really do a mistake of not using the correct data. And that's why we really have to work on the recheck, right? Then there is an ongoing report. So ongoing reports, like the dashboards which gets created every weekly basis, monthly basis, fortnight basis, 6 monthly basis, quarterly basis, yearly basis, right? There are ongoing reports, So the run rates can be done on the daily basis or hourly basis and so on. And these ongoing reports actually help you to know furthermore better that where exactly we are sitting. And that will lead to a benchmark. So the CII, how they actually have a benchmark awards, right? And here the people come up and share that how they have achieved a certain level of expertise. Now, with the benchmark, we have correlation where we correlate the two variables of working on the x-axis and y-axis, which we have already covered in the second session, right? So the correlation talks about that, leading towards the forecasting and the simulation. Now in this, the very important, which becomes more powerful, is the forecasting, where we can actually know that what can happen. And you will see the predictive and the causal model actually gets used by the grid analytics. So it helps you to move from, I think people will work from home in future. We can't work with this statement. You have to come up with a statement. I know that 30% of the people, it's going that very clear, right? So you will find that, the scenario goes from the foundational to an advanced element of dashboard monitoring to a deep dive analytics, right? And you will see that when we talk about the dashboard, it focuses on the count, rates, tabulations, classification. That's the real output we look at. But then when we talk about the advanced, we talk about the cause and effect relationship. We really need to know why that has happened, what is the effect, and what got that effect based on the various causes. So the causes can be, if it's a manufacturing company, then we use M's. M's are man, machine, method, material, right? But when it is service sector, then we use P's, which is people, process, procedures, policies. So that is the difference one has to work on. Again, in the cause and effect, let me tell you that a lot of the error happens here. So we should be very clear whether we are talking on the P's or we are talking on M's. Then we talk about information, So we are moving from what to why, right? That's very, very important. So it's really great to use the various tracking mechanism, monitoring trends. But in the advanced stuff, we use strategy making, forecasting, time series, problem solving, maybe a tree diagram, and all such things gets used, right? And you will see the BI tools gets used for the dashboard, for the foundational stuff. But the moment we talk about the advanced, we're talking about the predictive model, then we're talking on the statistical modeling. And that is why where you have to know where to use multiple variation, where you should know the regression, when to use correlation, you should know when to use Chi, when to use ANOVA, and so very much. So that's how the statistical modeling comes in place. So workforce analytics, indeed, you will see that it has a very strong impact and the focus on the strategies which combines the data. And you will also see that there are various changes in the matrix, the magnitude of the relationship among the data that gets used. So what happens here is we not only strategize of combining the data elements, but the analysis can inform managers about the changes which is happening in the human capital, the need the organization has, and so on. So the effort of HR Matrix is basically to inform management about the human capital. So that is what it mentions. And one of the way we work is with the benchmarking of data, which is useful in that it provides insight into the organization relative standing and the level of outcomes it has, which might be possible. So it helps to work with the all such things. You will then very important aspect we work with the workforce analytics is with the data. That is a big data. Big data works on the 3 V's, which is volume, variety, and velocity. So you will find that big data is often seen as a valuable because it offers these 3 V's, and volume because it provides the large amount of data on which analysis can be based. Now, in most cases, data sets as a large as a several hundreds or thousand instances are sufficient to actually identify the trend. Although there are instances which are sufficient to identify useful trends, but there are where you need the large volume of data which may permit additional insight. So big data offers variety. So one, we talked about the volume, now there is a variety. Through the excess of the wide variety, you can get a new insight which can be generated. And the caution here is the organization have a tendency to conduct these analysis independent of the existing data that can, we'll see the managers currently use to make the decision. But if you will see the social media in the current scenario, I mean, the characteristics of the applicants who may be a high performers, but more important question is whether these data provide incremental validity for selecting the employees beyond the, the practice in the current scenario, not for the decision making is very, very important. So that's why the velocity here, we'll talk about the speed at which the data can be generated. If the speed is low, what will happen? I mean, I'll keep sitting on the system then. So the characteristics of more likely to be consistent can create, and you can generate the data. And we really have to shorten the cycle time because that's how the decision cycle time can be reduced. Otherwise, what will happen is you will keep working on, and the decision might get delayed. So workforce analytics and the organizational effectiveness, you will see. So the changes in the data which is available for the organization, you will see it allows them to take various kind of advantages in the today's more capable assessment time. And, you will see that HR professionals who actually generates the reports, they will tell them the information, what they need, how to read the data, how to report the data, how to acknowledge the receipt of the report. And that is how it comes for the organization perspective. And then you will see that another aspect is the impact, right? The individual's task with developing and reporting the matrix, it is, we should be very much clear how it needs to be calculated. And the result of the first outcome, the organization, you will see subsequently work with a large number of metrics because there is no prior basis of choosing which is likely to be more useful or which is not likely to be more useful. And because of that, the decision making can be impacted, right? So that is how you will see the more effective workforce effort are those you will find who have a potential contribution in the cost of analysis. So each workforce effort has a potential ROI. Therefore, those individuals in organizations become responsible for managing workforce analytic efforts. And here you really have to comprise the information system, and the impact for an organization. That becomes the key. Now let's further understand the evaluation of workforce analytics opportunities. So there is a HR process efficiency, operational effectiveness, strategic realignment, and starting with the end in mind. And you will see that every outcome with the intermediate and according to the intermediate with the respective action takes place. Now, you will see that there are many ways, right? But then when I talked about these 4 of them, right, the HR process efficiency. So the substantial amount of workforce analysis and reporting, it actually addresses HR admin process efficiency, which is critical for HRM process. And that is why you will see, you'll work on the matrix, which is area related to the cost per hire, days to fill the position, percentage of performance reviews completed on time, and so on, which is there on the screen. And that is why I have shared with all of you in the last class also the various formulas for this, and you can actually use it. The operational effectiveness, right? It analyzes and focuses on the operational process improvement. The objective is to identify opportunities to improve the operational outcomes through the improved human capital intervention. Now, often I've seen that the analyst, they utilize the technical competences of the HR professionals. And here they will work on the employee deployment, they'll work on the recruiting, selection, motivating, engagement, and so on. So that is how you will find that the element coming in place. Then we have the strategic realignment. It is a set of, I would say, an activities, right? I would say today, in the current scenario, it is called human resource planning, HRP. And this subject you would have studied in your in your HR paper. So the planning effort focuses on both the long term to ensure the replacement of the labor power needed to operate the organizational, as well as planning for the strategic changes in the organization. Now, the example of Boeing, I remember, they engaged the number of efforts to ensure that they will have a sufficient number of engineers available to the staff operations in the future years, as the company faces the approaching retirement age of the large portion of its engineering workforce. And you will see the strategically such kind of intervention is really, really required. I remember, I'll give you an example of Myco Bosch. So they have a plant in Nasik, and I remember in 1950s, they asked people to come and join the workforce. So they opened the gate and somewhere around 1,000 people came and joined. And what happened was, I'm talking about in 1950s. And in 2000, people approached the age of 55 and they were nearing retirement. And there the strategic realignment had to take place. This is one of the very powerful example I know which used. Then another is starting with end in the mind. So the key to generate I would say impactful workforce analysis is to begin by identifying big problems or the opportunities. You can work with either of them, problem or opportunity. It is up to you. So the effective way of approach is to actually, surfacing the potential problem and to identify, how the existing data can be used for the discussion and how you can use to work towards the challenges and the various opportunities that you can work on. So, if I'll give you an example for this, the outcome variable might be a sale or a level of scrap or on-time shipment for that matter, right? So this important here which represent is the outcome using the numbers. Now this set will be easier if the organization has existing metrics. Otherwise, the raw data maybe need to be collected, and then appropriate metrics has to be combined, and the data has to be further developed. So it's really, really important to accordingly figure it out and work out. And this is where you will find you start with that. The important here is the 5 steps is how you can start with impact in mind, followed by don't silos your thinking. Third is avoid data smog. Fourth is be aware of the shiny new toy. And finally, the 5th one is make it stick. Okay. So let's start with this because it's really, really important how workforce analytics needs to be worked. So as it says, how we do that is we first collect the data, we choose the metric, we report the data, we analyze it and assess the impact. The impact in the mind works very strongly with the business impact, and the workforce analytics leads to a workforce intelligence by using the HR platform, right? So you will see the end of the day, how well we collect the data and how well we assess the impact focuses on this. You just focus with what impact you want to work on. So that's the first element. The second aspect, it talks about the don't silos your thinking. You need to know, get the buy-in as well as get the mindset of your people. That is your senior leadership, and asking the right question is very, very important. So you as an HR professionals, really need to know how to understand and work on the law of thought process, which is running on the leadership mind. So it's like, I've given you the 6 questions, thought process, how they're working. So what do you believe are the biggest people challenges created by the company's business strategy? So imagine the kind of open-ended questions people work with. What talent groups or categories will be critically important to achieving your strategic goals? Would you say that your talent acquisition strategy is characterized by build or buy strategy? Which skill or a talent group can be developed internally, which needs to be bought from the outside? I mean, you will be surprised that great organization, sometimes they make it very, very clear that they want all the things to be outsourced. Look at the, let me give an example of car manufacturers, right? Major things are outsourced. It's like, whether it is tire, whether it's clutch plate, whether it is tube, whether it is, bulb, whether it is headlights, whether it is mirror. It's like everything is outsourced. So it's very clear. It's just that they get assembled in the assembly line. Do you anticipate any major change in technology or innovation that will affect how people will do their jobs? Imagine, let me give an example of the major change which has happened in the current scenario, thanks to the pandemic, I would say, in the fashion industry, how people and the models used to walk down on the ramp and they used to wear the best of the designer clothes. But because of the technology, the modeling, profession is really, people are thinking aloud because Clo is something which has come in, and now, there is a dummy model walks on a ramp on the screen, and everybody's watching the latest of the clothes on the dummy model gets used, and the real models are not being used. So technology has gone to that level. Imagine now the technology can read your face and tell you that how are you feeling today and how much are you going to contribute in the today's objective in the organization. I mean, that is the level of things that it has shaped up. Has the deal between the company and its employee changed? So it's talking about the various element on the future perspective. So very important for the HR here is don't silos your thinking. I think just open up your Pandora box of your mindset and start working and thinking on that level. The third, avoids data smog. Guys, I mean, something very, very important. Please, get the right set of data and work on the right element, because all the four aspects, whether it is a human capital data focusing on the mobility, engagement, turnover, performance, recruiting, or we're talking about the customer data for the churning, acquisition, loyalty, or CSAT, or we are talking about financial data, which is expense, revenue, profitability, assets and liabilities, or we are talking about ops data, which is productivity, quality, cycle time, and unit cost. You should be very clear and then culminate all this data together. Otherwise, if you will start mingling and confusing with the data, the real output will not be there for the workforce modeling. Definitely practice the facilitate the fact-driven decision making. Yes, you should be very clear how good you are readiness approach with your subject, with the respective data, so that you can actually work slowly and gradually. Only thing point and to-do point here is, please do not strive for perfection. I have seen the moment you will work on the perfection, you will drain out drastically. And just make a scalable technology to accelerate, rather than just sitting on the technology and just mingling with the data and not really transforming it. The fourth, be aware of the shiny new toys, guys. So technology is something which is like, as I shared, so many technologies which can be used, but please just stick to one or two technology and keep working on it, keep using it to the core. Just to give an example, I know that even if I take a sessions on Zoom, I use various different shiny toys just to make my people engage. Either it could be a chat box, it could be a Menti, it could be a Kahoot, or maybe it could be a SlideShare, or either it could be another Padlet, right? So there are so many beautiful toys which are available to play around and make the people engaged. Till the time you're using for the engagement purpose, for making the excitement and to make the people understand the new things in a different manner, so that they don't go into the silos approach, absolutely good. But if you are using the data to communicate to the seniors, ensure that you are working with one or two kind of technology. Either it could be Python, it could be R, it could be SPSS, and so on, or whichever one organization is buying. And then make it stick. It is your performance, end of the day. So you need to educate, coach your people, end of the day, because tell them that how important and relevant it is. Tell them the right story in the great manner. Tell them how step by step you all are growing, and get a evaluation in place, and ensure that you get a different insight. Because I would say involve the Gen Z and Gen Y, because although you guys are Gen Y and some of you would be Gen Z here also, but the kind of Gen Z come up with the new set of technology expertise and the new thought process, I think it's very important to get that buy-in from them. And then the Gen X should actually adapt that, because they're really in the smallest of, in the least time, they can actually come up with the best of the thoughts. So the insight needs to be learned from these Gen Z. So that's how it works. Okay, so let me now understand from you any query, any question. Now we are moving towards one of the case study, which I'm going to read out, and then I'm going to expect an answer from you. I'm going to put you all in a breakout room. Okay, so the case goes like this. A regional hospital is a 500-bed hospital, several associated clinics in major East Coast metropolitan area. It has been an aggressive adopter of computing technologies in efforts to decrease cost and improve operational efficiencies. A critical challenge facing the hospital is meeting its ongoing challenges to staff the hospitals and allied clinics effectively, given the ongoing shortage of nurses, uncertainty in healthcare legislations, emphasis on the shortening hospital stays to reduce cost, which causes the daily census, number of patients in various departments, to vary dramatically from day to day and shift to shift. The continued aging of the population in its primary care area and the unending competition for employees with the key skill sets. Employees' expenses represents more than 80% of the overall cost of operations for the hospital. So identifying ways to match optimal skills and number of employees to the appropriate shift in critical to achieving consistent success. However, individual shifts managers struggle to make effective staffing decisions, resulting in consistent overstaffing and understaffing of shifts and departments. These staffing problems potentially increase the high cost of varied level of patient care and satisfaction, and potentially increase the risk that staff turnover may escalate because of dissatisfaction with the continuing inability of managers to match staffing needs to demand. Company managers recognizes the potential that HR matrix and the analytics might have for their organization, and they have come to you for an help. They are hearing from their peers in other hospitals that matrix can help in this area, but are not quite sure where to start. They are looking for you, if you are a consultant, right? They are looking for you to offer a guidance on how to do HR matrix and workforce analytics. I hope this case is clear with everyone. You can actually click it on your mobile phone also. Now, the question for all of you is, do you believe that a program of HR metrics and the workforce analytics might be useful in regional hospital? If so, why? What opportunities do you see regarding where and how matrix and analytics might be applied in this organization? Identify 3 analysis and associated metrics you think might be useful for regional hospital to consider. How might regional hospital utilize benchmarking as a part of matrix and analytics effort, if at all? What advice would you offer to the managers at regional hospital about developing a program of HR metrics and workforce analytics? What potential problems might occur in the establishment of HR metrics and workforce analytics program for the regional hospital managers, about which you would want to alert them prior to the beginning of this project? You can again click the picture of this 6 questions, right? Please show me thumbs up if the case is clear with everybody. All right. So I'm putting you all in a breakout room. I'm going to give you all 15 minutes for this. Okay. And once you come back, we'll understand the answer from you. Any query, any question before we proceed? All right. So the rooms are all open. Request to join the rooms, please. Mahesh, Ruchi, please join the group. Shiv Shankar, please join the room. Your room is 1. Shiv Shankar, please join the room. Can you hear me? Can't hear you, Shiv. Sorry.